Well, it's great to be back. It's great to be with all the students, be back in the sanctuary. You know, 31 years ago, where are the seniors? Where are the seniors sitting? All right. 31 years ago, I was right where you are. Class of 88. There were 43 of us. Now, things have changed a lot. When I was here, we were not blasting science experiments off to the space station. The school has grown, the school has excelled, the school is achieving at a world-class level. But I got to say, things have stayed the same as well. Dr. Young is such an extraordinary leader. And I have to admit, when I was here 31 years ago, he doesn't seem to have aged in 31 years. Actually, if he could bottle the fountain of youth that he has back at his study, it'd be incredible. You know, when I was here at Second Baptist, I had a lot of fun, a lot of friends. I learned a lot. We had incredible classes. Had the opportunity to study the Bible every day. Also got in a fair amount of trouble. It's interesting. Sometimes those portions of your history seem to kind of fade away, but I still remember. You may not remember this, but I got suspended for skipping class to go play foosball in the Family Life Center. By the way, it's a bad idea. If you think that playing foosball during school you want to do, don't do that, because you'll get suspended from school. I'm telling you, there's a voice of experience talking. We also, I don't know if you remember this, but you know the fountain with the big rocks out front? When we were seniors, we put laundry detergent in that. By the way, it bubbles up. Don't do that either. I will get in trouble. If anyone does that, Dr. Young's going to blame me for that, but that is a true story. When we were seniors, we did that. We had a lot of fun. But we also got a foundation. Listen, life can be hard. Life can be challenging. Life can be scary. You go and graduate, go into the world, it can be a big, bad, scary world. And the foundation here, the foundation in the Bible, the foundation of a relationship with Jesus, that gives you strength. That gives you the ability. I promise you, you are going to have challenging days. You are going to have days that it feels like everything you care about is ending. And the foundation you're building right now is going to help you make it through those days. So I'm thrilled to be back here. This is also a very cool event. So we're talking about space. You know, you think about space. We're the first graders. All right, first graders. Do you know that from the dawn of time, little boys and little girls have looked up at the sky at night, have seen the stars, and have wondered what's out there? Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden looked up at the stars, amazed at God's creation. Space has inspired men and women and boys and girls. As long as we have been people, we have been inspired by space. And it's inspired a frontier spirit. You know, it's only been about 400 years we've had telescopes. Whole history of humanity, only about 400 years have we had the ability to point a telescope up at the sky and see what was out there. You know, in the whole history of mankind, you know, when we first made it to the moon, 50 years ago. 1969, year before I was born. Imagine the whole history of humanity. For most of it, the idea of going to the moon was ludicrous. If you'd have said, back in the 1800s, the 1700s, the 1500s, the 1000s, if you'd have said in the time of Jesus, if you'd said at night, hey, see that moon? We're going to get on a big rocket ship, fly up there, and walk around. People have thought you were nuts. And 50 years ago, America did it. 50 years ago, we made it to the moon. And I got to say, our hometown of Houston has a long and wonderful history with that. Does anyone know what one of the very first words said on the surface of the moon was? That's true too. But even before that is the name of our city, and it was Houston, the eagle has landed. Our city, the entire world was watching on little black and white TV sets. Y'all don't know what black and white TV sets are. So TVs didn't used to be flat, they used to be boxes. And they had all sorts of static on them. And they didn't used to have color, they were black and white. So people are sort of squinting trying to see this black and white image. And they hear the words coming from the surface of the moon, Houston, the eagle has landed. Have you ever thought about the connection our city has to space? What's the name of our NBA team here in Houston? The Rockets. What's the name of our baseball team? This is a city that's pretty much built on two things, oil and gas and space. That's Houston. That's our town. But the leadership we have had going to space, it's inspired generations and generations of young people. If you want to go be an astronaut, go study math, go study science, work hard in your classes. Take biology, take physics. You know, there's a wonderful movie called Hidden Figures. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. True story of mathematicians at NASA, African-American women who helped do the work to let America orbit the Earth and ultimately make it all the way to the moon. They didn't get recognized at the time, but the history and legacy they've led is amazing. I'll tell you, my mom graduated from Rice in 1956, and she worked as a computer programmer helping compute the orbits of Sputnik. You know what they called those women who were programmers? They called them computers. Now think how strange that is. You think of a computer, I think of a computer as like a piece of metal. They used to call people computers because they would compute, because they'd do the math. And I took both of our little girls to see Hidden Figures. I was telling my mom afterwards, I said it sounded strange calling people computers. She said, gosh, when I started at Shell, my first title was computer. Y'all can be computers, you can be engineers, you can be scientists, you can be astronauts, and we're fixing to do something incredible, which is right here. We're going to talk to somebody in space. Yes, sir. We're going to talk to somebody on the International Space Station, an astronaut orbiting the Earth, and if I understand right, she's orbiting right now right about over Texas. A little bit earlier, 45 minutes ago, she was over Australia. But she's right now orbiting. We're getting ready to talk. How close are we to the uplink?
Mac, are we ready?
All right, I think we're good to go.
Station, this is Second Baptist. How do you hear me?
So if this doesn't work, we need a student to go up on the balcony and sound like you're coming from really far away.
How we doing, Mac? Okay.
Oh.
Great.
All right. Any of y'all done theater? All right. So sometimes in theater, I did a lot of drama when I was here. I did Sound of Music. I did Oliver. So my daughter, Caroline, is a sixth grader. She's an actress. Sometimes in theater, the actor doesn't come on stage when he or she's supposed to. And you'll be standing up there going, well, what do I do now? And there's a symbol that is stretch. And it's just kind of figure out. I had a couple of times where someone didn't hit their cue and I'd run out of dialogue and you just kind of make something up. Well, I was just told stretch. We apparently have 2 minutes till we can talk to the space station. So I saw what I thought was my cue. So I'm just right now stretching. I'd like to say I was conveying something deep and profound, but I'm just right now trying to eat up the 2 minutes till we could actually talk to the space station. Let me ask you, how cool is this? talking to somebody in space. And by the way, Christina, the astronaut we're going to talk to, she was part of the first all-female spacewalk that has ever occurred. And NASA is also in the process of launching the Artemis project. So does anyone know the name of the project that took us to the moon the first time? It was Apollo. Now, who knows who Artemis was in Greek mythology? Artemis was Apollo's twin sister. We're going back to the moon, but this time we're not only going to send an American to the moon, we're going to send the first woman to the moon. So the first woman on the moon will be an American astronaut. That's exciting stuff. And by the way, after we go to the moon, we're going to Mars. And I don't know what we're going to find on Mars. We may find little green guys. We may find Arnold Schwarzenegger in a giant mine full of frozen ice. If any of y'all have seen a movie, it's probably... The folks my age got that joke. But it'll be amazing. And it'll be amazing that it is NASA and America. Oh, I think we're connected. All right, I'm done stretching. Let's get back to the station.
You ready, Matt?
All right, so I'm told to stretch some more. I will say, y'all are getting ready to see, I can see in the little screen, we now have the video uplink. So if you have really good eyes, you're looking onto the space station right there. But what's interesting is the astronaut who we're getting ready to talk to, she's in the screen, but if you look, and they're going to put her up on top in a second, you'll notice she's not sitting in a chair.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Station, this is Second Baptist School.
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready.
Station, this
Second
is
Baptist School. This is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station for a voice check.
Station, this is Second Baptist School. How do you hear me?
Second Baptist School and distinguished guests, the International Space Station has you loud and clear.
Hi, Christina. My name is Don Davis. I'm the head of school at Second Baptist. I have Senator Cruz here with me this morning, and he's going to ask you the first question.
Christina.
Good morning, sir. My pleasure to be with you.
Good morning. Thank you for the incredible job you're doing. I got to tell you, you've got about 1,100 kids amazed to be watching you floating in front of their eyes up in space over Texas. We're proud of you, and we may have a few junior astronauts who are going to come join you on a later mission. So let me ask the first question. How is training for going to the moon, which NASA's getting ready to do again, different from training to be on the space station?
Sir, thank you for the question and for the greetings. Yes, I was waving as we flew over Texas just a few minutes ago, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all on board. I'm really looking forward to all the questions today. Training for a moon mission is indeed going to be different, but it's so exciting as part of the Artemis mission that NASA is focused on right now to go back to the moon in the next coming years. And the differences in the training, I think, revolve around the differences in the moon environment, different gravity, different science, different mission. So the different gravity means that we're not, for example, when we train for spacewalking, we're going to be training in different suits that allow us to actually walk on the surface of the planet, or of the moon, which has about 1/6 the gravity of the Earth. And one interesting thing is that we're actually already modifying the training facility that we use to train for spacewalks for that lunar environment. We train in a gigantic pool that has a complete mock-up of the International Space Station in it. It's 40 feet deep, 100 feet by 200 feet wide, and they've modified it to be able to actually simulate moon gravity in the pool. So that's one really exciting way that our training is different. Also, the mission is going to be slightly different. We're really focused on the science that the geology of the moon can offer, as well as how the moon can be a platform for us to test our technologies and operations for future Mars missions and deeper space missions. So we'll be looking at how we can be best trained to fulfill those mission goals as well. So it's a really exciting time to be an astronaut.
Hi, my name is Oliver Cunningham, and I'm in 2nd grade. Why did you want to become an astronaut, and who inspired you to go into space?
Well, you know what? I have wanted to be an astronaut since I was about your age, and even before. In fact, I don't even really remember a time when I didn't want to be an astronaut. And when I look back and think about what inspired me, I think about all the things that made me ponder the universe, things that made me feel small, things like the night sky, things like the ocean. I grew up in coastal North Carolina, so I had the opportunity to go out boating and to just experience the world, and that ignited a fire of exploration in me. And in terms of who inspired me, I think I was most inspired by the people around me that supported me. My parents, who both majored in science, my grandmother in particular had a just really strong work ethic and instilled that in all of us. And then, of course, Sally Ride was a big inspiration for me, the first American female in space. And seeing someone whose image reminded me of myself made me know that maybe that was something that I could do too.
Hello, my name is Isabella Woodfield, and I'm in 3rd grade. And what happens when you chew gum and blow a bubble in space?
Wow, that would have been a really fun question to get to research if only we had bubble gum on board. We do have chewing gum a little bit up here, so chewing gum is about the same, but that bubble, you know, I seem to recall that when you pop a bubble when you're blowing a bubble gum bubble, it tends to kind of wrap around your chin a little bit, and I think that might be the only difference in space. It would probably still the elasticity of the bubble would cause it to come back on your face, but my guess is that you wouldn't have that gravity pulling it down like that, so maybe it'd be more likely to hit you in the forehead.
Hi, my name is Christian Arce. I'm in 7th grade, and my question for you is, without the 24-hour cycle for sunrises and sunsets that we experience on Earth, when do you fall asleep in space, and is it easy for you to fall asleep in space?
You're exactly right. We have 16, 17 sunrises and sunsets every single day, and that's because we're orbiting around the Earth about every hour and a half. So we can't just go to sleep when it's night and wake up when it's day. So we have very designated times. We actually sleep according to the sort of nighttime of the time zone that we follow here on board the International Space Station. And of course, we could pretty much pick any time zone to follow. So we pick a time zone that's kind of in between all of the different centers on Earth that we work with. We work with centers in Moscow, Japan, Europe, and of course, Houston. So we have a time zone that is Greenwich Mean Time. It's somewhere around Europe and England. And when it's nighttime there, we sleep on board. And I personally think sleeping in space is wonderful. It's very comfortable. And we basically have a sleeping bag that we can attach to any surface, the wall, the ceiling, whatever, zip ourselves up in it, and just float our arms out and fall asleep.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Hollingshead, and I'm with Jordan Monica, and I'm in 4th grade. What has been your greatest accomplishment in this mission? What has been your favorite thing about space?
I would have to say that my greatest accomplishment wouldn't be just one thing. It would be just overall, every day, resolving to bring my best and to have a positive attitude every single day. I've been up here for over 250 days and I've got several more to go, so I think that attitude of just remembering that it's my job to give back and to be the best team member I can be with the ground teams in Houston is what I'm most proud of.
Hi, my name is Ben Wiley. I'm in 3rd grade. How has your perspective in life changed after being in the space station?
It's a great question. I think for me, the biggest perspective change has been the view that we have back on our planet Earth. Because having the opportunity to see Earth from space and really see it as this island in the universe has really changed my perspective. What I've realized is that humans are more alike than we are different. We all need the same things in life, and we all sort of cling to the same island that sustains us all. And interestingly, the things that do make us different, I've realized, are mostly because of the amazing diversity of geography on the planet Earth and how the places that we come from shape culture. And it's just been a really fascinating experience looking down on the Earth and realizing that humanity has so many things that bring us together and that we care about all the same.
Hello, I'm Jacob Senskar. I'm in 5th grade and I'm with Josie Berg. I'm a 5th grader. How do people of different cultures work together in the space station? And are there language barriers? If so, how do you communicate?
You know, different people of different cultures do work together on the space station. And not only that, we work together on the ground when we're preparing for space flight and all of the teams that have to coordinate everything that happens up here. It is truly an international effort, and that's one of the reasons that I am so proud and honored to be a part of it. I think it's one of the most important things that we do up here. So one interesting thing is right now on board, we have astronauts from 3 different countries, America, Russia, and Italy. And I've also been up here with an astronaut from the United Arab Emirates and Canada. So we have learned to speak each other's languages. I actually learned to speak Russian because in order to get to the space station, we've been actually riding a Russian spacecraft called the Soyuz. So all of my training I got to do in Russia, and for the most part using the Russian language. The Russian cosmonauts also speak English, so we all communicate, and when we talk to each other, it's a really interesting mix of both Russian and English, usually depending on what we're talking about and what's the easiest language. But for emergencies, we actually all speak in our native language to our home centers. So that's one way that we get across that language barrier at the times when it's most critical.
Hi, my name is Sarah Saw, and I was wondering, are there any books in space other than manuals?
I love that you know that there are manuals up here, and you're absolutely right. But we do try to also read for fun up here. I personally love to read. It's one thing I do on my free time. And the nice thing is nowadays with e-books on tablets, we can actually read almost any book without having to carry it up in the limited space that we have on spacecraft. But that being said, we do have some really cool books on board. In fact, this is a book called Hey Ho, to Mars We'll Go. And we get to read books for students and have those published for outreach. So we do have a couple really good children's books on board that we enjoy.
Hi, my name's Avery Brinkley, and since you've been in space for almost a year and will be spending the holiday season in space, how will you celebrate and make it feel like home while away from your family?
That's a great question. And don't worry, we have plenty of Christmas gear up here. And we like to actually get in the spirit quite a bit. We sing Christmas carols sometimes, even on the radios. We have cookie decorating. We play Christmas music all the time, sometimes in the background when we're working and sometimes at a meal. I think we might all have some Christmas presents for each other stashed away somewhere. So we're definitely trying to get into the Christmas spirit. And luckily our ground teams help with that as well. And they remind us that, you know, we should be getting ready for Christmas up here.
Hi, my name's Turner Murdoch. I'm in 8th grade. We have been following you on Twitter and noticed you're working on medical research in microgravity. What has been your most fascinating finding in that field?
You're exactly right, and I love that field. I love the fact that it brings so many benefits back to Earth. I think the most interesting thing that microgravity offers is in medical, pharmaceutical, or medicine research. There's this really neat thing called protein crystal growth, which means that things like proteins, which can help us when we learn about them to fight things like cancer, when we can crystallize them, which is something in many cases can't actually be done on the Earth and can only be done up here in space, that means we have a better chance of understanding those proteins and then by developing medicines to fight them. So I had the privilege of being a part of an experiment called microgravity crystals, where we actually imaged crystals of a very particular protein.
She's coming back. So sometimes her phone doesn't have enough bars.
Well, this is the International Space Station. Do you still have me?
Yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Olivia Smith, and I'm in the 8th grade, and I was wondering if spacewalking met your expectations, and was training in the neutral buoyancy lab pool realistic?
I tell you what, spacewalking completely exceeded any expectation I had. It was a phenomenal experience and one that I just can't believe I had the honor to do. I would say that training was exceptional. We actually go through from beginning to end of every spacewalk and how it's going to be, including the airlock, coming out of the airlock and translating across the International Space Station, and even doing the repairs of the exact things that we have on the external side of station when we need to do one of those upgrades or repairs. So I would say the only difference is they can't simulate what it looks like when the Earth is gliding by you, below you, and you look down and all you see is your space boots and the Earth 250 miles below. That is a feeling that I can only imagine happening for real out there.
Hi, my name is Ty Baker, and I'm a freshman. Has anything unexpected happened to you or your team in space? If so, what was the solution, and how did you prepare to handle the situation?
You know, we do have to be ready for unexpected things to happen at all times. And something that comes to mind is actually about spacewalking. On our last series of battery upgrade spacewalks, we actually had an unexpected situation where one of the power charge units that works with the batteries failed after we replaced the batteries. And we knew that we had to get that replaced before we could actually utilize those new batteries that we had just installed. So the teams on the ground got to work right away. They sent us up new procedures for a new, what they call contingency spacewalk. So that's an unexpected spacewalk that we hadn't even ever prepared for. And the neat thing about this is that they weren't even sure at the outset the best way to do this repair. So we were working together with the ground teams in real time over the course of only a couple days to develop from scratch how we would do this complex repair job. And it involved unique things like riding on the end of the robotic arm and the training that came into that. So it was a really exciting time, and it really showed the best of NASA, how we can adapt to overcome challenges when we work together.
Hi, I'm Kendall Felton. I'm a sophomore. And my question is, how have you dealt with living in a small contained space for a long period of time, and how do you mentally prepare?
You know, it's funny because I am actually a big outdoors person. I love the outdoors. I love the ocean. I love the mountains. And I thought I would get cabin fever up here living in these modules. But to be honest, it's just such a fascinating environment, and we have such interesting work and great views of the Earth. I haven't gotten cabin fever. So you don't really feel like you're on top of each other either. And I can tell you why. When you have 3 dimensions, the space just feels a lot bigger. So it doesn't feel as cramped as you might think, even though there's 6 people working and living in this kind of small space station. It's about the size of, say, a 5-bedroom house. Mentally, we're actually prepared by NASA with what they call expeditionary behavior training. So this is things like group living, leadership, followership, self-care, team care, communication, things that are important when you have to bring your best every day, both working and socializing with the same people in a small space. But when the mission and accomplishing it efficiently is the foremost of, the most importance, and we have to make sure that we're at our best every day to be able to do that. So luckily that training's been incorporated since day one, and it just feels natural once we get here.
Christina, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. We appreciate your work on the International Space Station.